just waiting for a few more people to start on. I can see people starting to come in. Hope you're all having a great summer. It's been beautiful weather, not a lot of rain. And despite these crazy times, I think everybody's been trying to enjoy as much time off as possible. And I think you can see over here on my team, I've got Mike and Tracy, and they're going to be doing some speaking as well. We've got a lot of participants today. We have quite a few of our past clients and current clients. We have some colleagues that are joining us and some people that have just got the information off of our website. So we're very excited to go through with this, give you some information. It'll take us probably 15 or 20 minutes. And if you want, you can send us questions through the chat line. That's open, and feel free to do so. Again, we'll get underway in a couple of minutes. And I've got my water. If I start drying up because I'm talking too much, and hopefully this will be something that you'll find informational, give you some good insight as to what to expect, what's been going on, but also to give you some information that it's all good news. It's very positive what's happening in the real estate market in general. I think we're blessed to be where we are. I've said for years, we're so well insulated as to what happens in the real estate market nationally, because we're inside our own little bubble. That seems to be the term nowadays, but we're in our own little bubble where anytime that you have the opportunity of owning a property or living inside of what I believe is the best areas, inside of 93, 95 in the Mass Pike, we've got every major university, every major hospital, high tech, biotech. We have an incredible amount of public transportation, accessibility, and all of our communities are growing and becoming very vibrant with new restaurants and shops, and all the schools are being rebuilt. So the greater Boston area is just very solid, very sound, and we'll talk a lot about that today. I see a few more people have signed on, so I'll just give it one more minute, and then we'll get ready to start. And again, if you have any questions, the chat line's open, and feel free to jump in, ask us any questions. We're more than happy to answer the questions for you. Take a quick sip of water, and we'll get started. So welcome. I'm Steve McKenna, and I'm now, as you can see, we're Gibson Sotheby's Real Estate. For over 75 years, Bose Real Estate has been involved with the entire community here in Arlington, the surrounding communities, in the real estate industry. And just recently, Bob Bose decided that we needed to have an opportunity to expand our market, to expand our knowledge, and it was time for him to sort of sit back a little bit. So he sold the company. We've been acquired by Gibson Sotheby's International Realty. They're a tremendous organization. We're very excited about this opportunity, not only with the Sotheby's name, but the Gibson Sotheby's name is just well known throughout the area. They have over 25 offices, from anywhere from Provincetown to Manchester by the Sea, out to Wellesley, throughout all greater Boston. And so we're very excited about the opportunity we can have to help our clients. So this is my team, and a lot of you know us already. We've been in town for, as I said, for many, many years. And today what we're going to talk about is a real estate market update, just to give you an overview of what's been happening since the COVID situation. I know a lot of people have been concerned about their values of homes. We know that we see all the time, Mike and Tracy are out with buyers all the time, and they're questioning, is it the right time to buy? Should we wait for the market to drop? What's happening in the real estate market? Is it an opportunity for us to get a good deal? So we're going to talk a lot about that today as well. And so just to start off, one of the things we're talking generally about Greater Boston, but specifically we'll be talking about Arlington. So if you have questions about any of the other communities, feel free to let us know. So I'm going to go over a couple of quick charts with you and give you some insight as to what's happening specifically here in Arlington. And then Tracy's going to take on and talk to you about what's happening for buyers looking at property. So right now, this chart, I wanted to give you a sense for year to date, from January 1st to July 31st, what's actually been happening in the real estate market, because there's been a lot of rumors that the market's dead, things aren't selling, people are losing values. Well, it's quite the opposite. We still have a lack of inventory. And you can see it here with this chart that in 2019, from January to July, there were 121 condominium sales. And this year, there was only 116, so down very slightly. And we're going to see actually them increasing as we get through the rest of this year. But you can see specifically, the prices are going up. The average sales price last year for condominiums in Arlington was $659,000. And as of now, for the end of July, the average sales price is $690,000. So we're still seeing that 7 to 8% increase. When it comes to single family homes, again, fewer homes, but higher values. Now, what's interesting is we didn't see a huge increase in values in the single family homes on an average price, but we have seen the values being much higher for properties that are coming on the market as of late. But back in 2019, there were 150 sales with the average sales price of $930,000, and currently 136 sales with the average sales price of $949,000. And again, we'll see those values increasing. The condominium market's still strong. The single family market is still strong. We're not that far off base. What's interesting is when you start to look at multifamily homes, that's always going to be a much lower number because there's fewer multifamily homes in Arlington than there are condominiums and single families. But also, a lot of the multifamily homes have been converted to condominiums. And what we're seeing right now over the last few years are a lot of the multifamily homes being purchased by not investors and developers, but by families moving in there together. And they're going back to being and used as single family homes, or they're cohabitating with their sister or parents coming in, moving in. But this year, there were only 19 sales compared to 28 last year. So significantly less. And yet the price has still increased a little bit, $1,117,000 to $1,145,000. And there have been some multifamily homes that have sold well over, we just had one recently that's under agreement at $1.8 million. It had great views of Mystic Lake, but still that's a significant price for Arlington, where a two-family house is selling for $1.8 million. This next screen, we thought this would be important to just give you a visual effect on three houses that over my career and over my team's career that we've had the opportunity of listing or selling, and you can see the growth period. Now, granted, in each situation, there are probably certain updates that people have made, but we wanted to show you this first house on Wilbur. In 1995, it sold for $185,000. And then back in 2012, I actually listed the home and sold it to the people that recently sold it. And in 2012, they paid $530,000 for it. And just this year, in early March, it closed for $825,000. So again, a significant price increase, Dallin School, typical Cape-style home with some renovations. This center entrance colonial, which is over on Upland Road near Bishop School, in 2003, I actually sold it to a family that lived there for the last 14 years. They paid $585,000 for it. They did do an incredible amount of renovations to the property. And in 2017, they sold it for $1,075,000. Well, which is typical in Arlington, the family that moved in there, they got job relocation and they just had to sell this year. So within a year, just about 3 years, they still sold it for a significant higher price. They still made $175,000 without making any improvements. So that's a good investment property to see. And then of course, for a lot of you that are coming in through Arlington, a lot of times you'll be traveling on Pleasant Street, which is a historic district we have. And this house here on the right-hand side, this is on Pleasant Street overlooking Mystic Lake. And it sold in 1995, as you can see, for $379,000. In 2004, sold for $794,000. And just this year, just sold for about 1.3. So there is a significant growth continuing in Arlington, as well as throughout the greater Boston area in real estate. Nationally, you hear a lot of different news and reports about that, especially when you go to areas that are dealing with a lot of tourism, such as Florida or Arizona. Their markets are very different than ours. So there's a significant growth opportunity. And this will bring to the point when Tracy starts talking about it, when is a good time to buy and when is a good time to sell. And this is a chart which is very difficult for me to read because I'm colorblind, as most of my clients know. But this is a chart that was put together for us that we think is critical for people to see. And it's really quite interesting. And on any of this information, if you'd like, we're more than happy to email it to you, send it to you, talk to you about it in person. But what this chart depicts is the sales distribution of values from 2005 to 2019. So it's a 15-year history. And as you can see that pretty much right here from 2005, just about 50% of our homes were under $500,000. And only 2 transactions of our homes were over $1 million in 2005. Compared to, as you can see, the growth that just if we go to 2008, when we had the crisis, 2008, 2009, we were hovering just over 55, 60% of the homes were at $500,000 or under. But as we start progressing and going towards the 2015 timeframe, 2018, 2020, that there are fewer homes. There's less than 9 homes that have sold under $500,000 in Arlington in 2019. Subsequently, when you start looking at those values and seeing what's happening, you can see that about 75% of our price range now is between $750,000 and $1 million. So that's a significant increase of the sales that we've seen. So you can see, as just using as an opportunity here, in 2015, we had 152 homes that sold over $500,000 to $750,000. And yet back in 2005, it was very few. When you start looking at our $1 million market, which has become the new norm for Arlington, especially with a lot of the new construction. When you look at pretty much for 5 to 10 years straight across, we only had single numbers of homes that were selling over $1 million. And now we're over 25% of our homes as we get into the last couple of years are selling over $1 million. So Arlington and Greater Boston is a good, solid investment. Values are constantly on the increase. Yes, people are making improvements to their homes. There's a lot of these homes that are new construction that are selling over $1 million. But if you look at our core value of homes, which is between $750,000 and $1 million, there's a substantial amount of sales and activity that's occurring. And what this is causing is a lot of buyers to make a determination. Are they really looking for Arlington? Are they looking outside of Arlington? Are they looking at a single family home? Are they looking at condominiums or townhouses? What is best suited for their lifestyle, and what's a good opportunity from them from an investment standpoint? So with that, what I'd like to do is have Tracy talk for a few minutes and give you an insight as to what's happening. And so Tracy's been with our team since 2014. She's very knowledgeable about the real estate market. This is Tracy pictured here with one of our favorite clients, and they were looking here at showing a home. So Tracy, do you want to take over for a couple of minutes?
Absolutely. Time flies, 2014. So I wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about the Arlington market today. Today, specifically, there are 18 condos and 15 single families actually on the market. And I want to narrow that down to a group of buyers that I find somewhat interesting, and that is those buyers that have a budget between $950,000 and $1.2 million. Because what I'm seeing is some of those buyers are struggling a little bit in Arlington, and you would think, how could they possibly struggle? That's a good budget, and it certainly is, but due to the lack of inventory and the rising prices, these buyers are finding themselves looking at all kinds of different styles of living. So for instance, maybe one week, the only thing in their budget is a condo. The next week, the only thing within their budget is a townhouse. The next week, the only thing is a single family. And so they'll go to see all of these because they know they're in their budget and they're eager to find something. And so when you look at the graphic that we're sharing now, for example, 20 Freeman Street is a condo that came on the market listed for $1,049,000. It is in a great area of East Arlington, and it is beautiful. This is a condo that was completely gut renovated in 2016. And when buyers come here, they love the fact that it is basically brand new. They love the fact that it's in a great location. It's gas heating. It has air conditioning, 3 zones. It has gas cooking. The gas cooking is vented out. I mean, it has so many attractive qualities to it, but then they realize that maybe they do want a private backyard and aren't looking to share it. They don't want to share their driveway, and possibly they want a few more rooms on the first floor versus just the open concept. So we pass, and the next weekend we find ourselves possibly at 38 Norfolk Road in Arlington. The buyers walk in, again, it's in their price range. They love the fact there are a bunch of rooms on the first floor. They love the fact that there are a lot of very large rooms. They have the private backyard they were looking for last week and the private driveway, but this is one heating zone. There's no air conditioning. It needs to be renovated. Maybe they're not confident in wanting to do a big renovation. They still could hopefully afford to do so in the price range, but it just doesn't offer them that move-in quality they're looking for. A lot of times, both if it's a couple, both people are working. So they don't have a lot of free time or knowledge and understanding really what a renovation may take. So they pass on this and they go back and forth and back and forth. And they start to feel a little frustrated because they're confident that for that price range, they should be able to find their dream home. They're waiting for their dream home to appear. And as we all know, when you see your dream home, everyone else recognizes it as well. So it's even more competitive. And so they go on to a holding pattern of where they're waiting for the right home to come on. And then if a buyer is in the $600,000 to $800,000 range, that also may be similar in the fact that they may be looking at a smaller cape that needs to be renovated, or a smaller condo that doesn't offer them the things that a single family may offer. So those buyers, many times, we just recently had one, found themselves in Acton, looking at a home in the $600,000 range with a big barn. Basically, it was a complete new style of living with a barn and a shed and all these things, but they were now competing against people out of Cambridge and South Boston, because a lot of people have decided that that might be something that might be right for them. And with that in mind, other towns start to come into the search and they start to think about expanding their search. And I'm going to have Mike now, Mike Pilata, take over and talk a little bit more about what happens and why buyers decide to expand their search outside of Arlington.
Perfect, thank you. So yes, as Tracy mentioned, just as buyers are looking between and deciding between a single family or a townhouse or a condo, they're also looking at location, and they're becoming more flexible in the locations that they're looking to buy in. So Arlington has historically been that type of Goldilocks town, in the sense that it still has accessibility to Cambridge and to Boston if you're public transportation for work. And it also has great schools and a little bit more of a neighborhood feel. So many residents have realized that, and they don't want to give up that accessibility to the city. They don't want to have a longer commute, and they decided to stay and renovate their homes. This decrease in the homes and the increase of buyers that are moving to this area, knowing that it's such a great location, has created a lack of sellers and also a lack of inventory. The lack of inventory, as Tracy and Steve have both mentioned, and just looking over time, has increased the prices and forced more of those first-time home buyers to start expanding their search further into the greater Boston area. During their search, they might realize that they could get a similar sized home for the same, or a similar or a larger sized home for the same price or even lower. So, my wife and I, we recently bought a home last year in Burlington. It's a great community. We found that a lot of younger people are starting to move there just because it is a little bit further out, but they still have a lot of the restaurants. They're doing renovations to the Burlington Mall. And a lot of businesses are also moving out there as well because of the low taxes. So it gives different options for some buyers. So over the past few months and resulting from COVID-19, buyers are realizing that certain homes and certain features are becoming extremely important. So the home offices are another big thing that people are looking for, since they don't have to go into an office. Space to accommodate extended family or children, a larger house for just more personal space in general, or a larger yard because maybe they're looking to get a pet or just looking to have that space to entertain outside. So these three homes we'll take a look at here, again, on 44 Wilbur Ave and in Arlington. So that's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. Its approximate living area is 1935. So you can see the other two homes that are in Burlington and Woburn have a similar size, but the price is much different. If you're looking, again, in Burlington, it's a competitive home. It's a competitive area because people are starting to realize what it has to offer. So the list price was $599, but it ended up selling for $675. Woburn is also another great area. It has great accessibility to the highways. It has places like Horn Pond where you can get out and have a little bit more of a nature feel while walking around. But this one on Bedford Road was a little bit more of a busier street. And then also sometimes homes that are a little bit further out don't have as much competition. So with the values that are in these areas that are also starting to increase dramatically, you're getting a better investment when you're looking a little bit further outside the city, but also staying close enough that you're within the greater Boston area.
Those are all good points, Mike. And I know that as a team, all of us are out there showing properties in Arlington, Winchester, Lexington. And then, you know, that's a certain price point for people. But for a lot of young buyers, and I think there's some national averages right now that over 35% of home buyers are first-time home buyers. And a lot of the home buyers right now, they're renting in an urban area. They're looking to come and stay in an urban area, and Arlington offers that. But it becomes an affordability factor for them. So they're trying to determine, are they going to give up the conveniences of accessibility to work and move out a little bit further? And right now, because of the virus and because of industries, we're finding a lot of people working from home, having a home office, needing 2 home offices because both spouses are working from home, and probably even needing a schoolroom. So they are moving out to areas like Burlington, Woburn. As Tracy said, there was a house out in Acton that she and I actually were showing to some buyers about a month ago. And it was like old home week because they had brokers from Cambridge, from Arlington, brokers from Boston, all the way out in Acton. And that house had over 20 offers. So the ability to find a house is expanding more and more because of the lack of inventory. And the reality is that, you know, buyers are always saying to us right now, is it really the best time to buy a home? And the honest answer is the market's always increasing. It's going to be the best time. You have to get your feet wet. You have to just jump in and do it. And a lot of sellers are questioning, well, do we sell now? Or is the market going to go up? One thing that we've always said to our sellers and truly believe is the right time for you to sell is when it's right for you. The market's showing you that it's fairly constant. We've had several clients this year that decided it was time for them to sell their home. They wanted to downsize, move into the city short term, and then maybe retire and find a home up in Gloucester or down in Newport, things of that nature. So you really have to decide what's best for your lifestyle and what's working for you. The reality is, though, if you go back to these charts just briefly and you start looking at these values, prices are always increasing. And so, Tracy, I'm going to ask you and then Mike, we're seeing a lot of buyers coming into the community and they are looking for a lot of features and amenities. And we have a certain group of buyers that don't mind doing work, but a large portion that don't want to do any work. And so, Tracy, from your standpoint, you're very familiar with East Arlington and the condominium market. Are you finding that a lot of the buyers prefer cohabitating and want something new, and that to them is more important than having an older single-family home in Arlington?
Well, I guess it really depends on the buyer and what they're most interested in. And if they are able to work from home, as we've heard some companies, I think like Salesforce, Google, they're not going back to work for another year. So the convenience of having the red line close by is not going to be as important, and who knows what's going to be happening from a year from now. But the walkability certainly is of importance to a lot of people, and I do believe that move-in ready feature is something that will always be popular. People are unfamiliar with doing renovations. They prefer someone else to do them for them. They're afraid of the whole thought of a permit and everything that would go along in the process. So I think move-in ready would be something that would be most popular for buyers.
And Mike, from your standpoint, you know, young couples just starting out, you've just got married recently, and people are starting to think about families and so forth. When we look at this chart, you can see that Arlington is becoming much more expensive for young families that are looking to spend under $700,000. So as you said, you went out to Burlington and Woburn. A lot of your peer groups, you've been out there selling homes. What are they feeling about these communities that you're selling houses in? And you've been in Melrose, Wakefield, Stoneman. We're seeing values starting to increase there, but it's really changing for what buyers are looking for as far as wanting a little bit more space, don't you think?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, I'd say probably the biggest factors are people looking for a yard space that they can have, whether they have, they're planning to get married and have kids, or they just want to have pets and dogs in an area that they can have a little bit more space. But in kind of echoing what Tracy had said, is there's still, obviously they would prefer having a move-in ready place. But those are the ones that are becoming a lot more competitive. So those are getting multiple offers. The price is getting a lot higher. So if you have a certain budget and you're looking in that budget, you might get priced out of that as the offers and the prices go higher. So some people are going for those other homes that might need a little bit more work, or, some other people might see that has wallpaper and they get, afraid of that, thinking that it's a huge defect of the house, but really it's just a cosmetic thing that people can take off that and paint, and it completely changes the look of the whole house. So that might be a better opportunity.
That's a really good point, because you're right. A lot of people see wallpaper or think the house needs a lot of work, and it's really just minor cosmetics. And that's like, if you're thinking about selling your home, we always say to everybody, don't start spending money. It's not like the HGTV on television where people are knocking down walls and doing kitchens over to sell their homes. That's not happening in this community. There's a little bit of tweaking that needs to be done, a little bit of cosmetic work. That's why we provide a professional stager to come in and really give you some insight as to what to look for. Because it's really important. Buyers are looking for functionality. They're looking for the layout. They're looking for convenience. So if you're thinking about selling, don't go crazy and trying to renovate everything right now. Speak to us. Let us give you some insight. And from a buyer's standpoint, we've got a great team here that has a lot of experience with working with developers and contractors, and understand that when we're showing you a house, we want to give you a sense of what you're buying. Is it a strong, stable house, but it just needs cosmetic work? Don't be afraid of putting a little bit of money into there, because putting money into your home, as you can see by this chart, values are going to always increase. So I don't see any questions at this point. One of the things that I did want to mention to everybody is the market's still strong. Interest rates are extremely low. I tell the story that the first time I bought a property, I paid 18.5% interest rate back in the early 80s. It's free money right now. So if you're a buyer, don't panic that prices are high. It's the best time for you to buy right now with the low interest rates. Take advantage of it. And for a seller, it's time to take advantage of an opportunity for you to, if you want to downsize or right size, as they call it, give us a call, give you an opportunity of understanding what the values of your home is worth. And just to finish up and let you know that, again, we're part of Gibson Sotheby's Real Estate. These are all of the towns that we cover. We have offices in every single one of these communities. We have the ability of working there. And so we're more than happy to give you some insight to any of these communities. I do have a question that came across about if any thoughts on rental income if you buy a multifamily home. It's a great question, because one of the things that we're dealing with right now is a lot of buyers or potential buyers can't afford Arlington, but they want to move out of the city. So they still want to start to learn about the community, learn about Arlington. And they don't want to be living into a building. They'd rather be in a 2-family, 3-family house so they can get a feel for the neighborhood and the community. Tracy, you could probably speak to this, because as you know, there's a lot of interest in East Arlington. You have property there. People really like living in a 2-family dwelling when they're renting, because they really get to know the community a lot more. Don't you think that's better than a building?
Yes, although I didn't quite hear the question, Steve.
The question was about what do we think about buying multifamily homes for the rental value and the rental income?
Oh, okay. So owning rental property in East Arlington, I bought the majority of it, I would say around 2006, and we got renovated each one, redoing the basement and everything. And we, even at that time, felt it was overpriced when we bought it. We put a lot of money into it with hopes that we wouldn't have to worry about it for 25 or 30 years. And I think if you go in with a long-term plan, that can certainly be helpful. I know the first 2-family we purchased, we lived in. until we were able to get to a position to purchase another one. And I can certainly say it's great to be living in a two-family and having a check slid under the door to help you pay for your mortgage. That certainly is a wonderful, a wonderful feeling. I know that not everyone is cut out to be a landlord, because there are issues. And if you are trying to purchase a property that's going to need some work or renovation, or if it's just much older and you rent it immediately, you need to be ready for that expense if you don't have the expertise of fixing things yourself. And that, along with, dealing with tenants who may not be getting along with each other and things that can come up. It's a bigger decision than just the money, because it will change your lifestyle unless you hire a management company if you're not living in the house yourself, because it takes time, and like any good investment, it needs to be maintained. And you're really going to need to keep your eye on everything to make it be successful.
For my entire career, when I was taking out first-time home buyers, I would always say to them, the best investment you can make up front is a two-family, because you have so many options. First of all, as a young couple, you've got the rental income to help support it. But then you have the ability to convert it into condominiums and sell one unit or sell both units, and that's a great investment. And now, as I talked about, and I think, Mike, we're seeing this from your family standpoint as well, and Tracy, we're seeing it, more and more people are buying two families, and they're bringing family back into it, and they're cohabitating. There are a lot of times we have young couples that are buying a two-family, and either mom and dad or mom's moving in because dad's passed away, and she's there to help with the grandkids and help with lifestyle, and later on they're helping mom as she gets older. But I think the two families give you so much flexibility. Any other comments on any of those, Mike or Tracy? Okay. So folks, we're just about to end. I wanted to thank you very much. I know everybody's still on board. We have everybody stayed on. Nobody's actually disconnected us, which is good. We really appreciate you listening to us. If we can ever help you, family, friends looking to buy or sell, please give us a call or email us. Again, it's Steve McKenna, Tracy Wallace, Mike Pilata, the entire Home Advantage team. We very much appreciate your time. For all of my clients that are continually being so supportive of us, thank you so much. We appreciate your opportunities and helping you out. And again, have a great summer. Hope everybody stays safe and have a terrific fall season. Give us a call if you need anything. Bye.